In 1947, the long struggle for Indian independence ended in a victory that immediately triggered a staggering migration. Millions of people suddenly found themselves walking away from their ancestral homes, forced into a movement they never planned for. This chaos was the direct result of a collapsed timeline. Lord Mountbatten, the final British administrator, accelerated the withdrawal of British forces and officials by nearly a year, leaving no time for an orderly transition of power. The responsibility for drawing the new national borders fell to Cyril Radcliffe. He was a British lawyer who had never stepped foot in India before this assignment, and he was given only weeks to decide the geographic fate of millions. These new borders followed a fatally simple logic. Radcliffe divided the land strictly by religious majorities, effectively splitting integrated cities and families in half with a single stroke of a pen. The announcement created an immediate vacuum. As the British military began its hasty withdrawal, the administrative systems meant to keep the peace evaporated, leaving millions of people on the wrong side of the line with no protection. Panic drove millions to abandon their lives. Because the government had no infrastructure to support a movement of this scale, families were forced to survive in makeshift camps, surrounded by rising tension and debris. This rushed exit did more than create new nations. It destroyed the rule of law, creating a space where the protections of a functioning society simply cease to exist. In a vacuum of authority, rumors and fear dictate behavior. With the police forces overwhelmed and the military withdrawing, localized acts of retaliation began to replace years of community coexistence. For those fleeing the violence, the railways became the only viable means of escape. The trains were the last functioning lifeline for millions heading toward the new borders. But the railway's geography created a specific danger. In a totally unpredictable landscape, these tracks were the only fixed system. This predictability was a weakness. Trains were highly visible, followed a set path, and carried no defense. Armed groups recognized this vulnerability. They focused their attacks on the railways, turning their attention toward these exposed bottlenecks. Because the railway was the last piece of infrastructure still operating, it became the site where communal violence was most concentrated. Families packed themselves into these carriages, with thousands more clinging to the roofs and exterior bars. Every passenger traveled knowing they were completely exposed. Raw, localized acts of vengeance, fueled by rumors of atrocities elsewhere, drove the groups waiting outside the carriage windows. Attackers stopped the trains on isolated stretches of track, far from any station or security force. The passengers were effectively trapped where they sat. When the doors were breached, the result was an inescapable slaughter. This violence represented the total collapse of humanity when the train stopped moving. Public infrastructure, stripped of its security, functioned as a trap. The system designed to carry people to safety had been weaponized. Across the new borders, thousands of people waited at the receiving stations. Families spent days on the platforms, watching for trains that were often hours or days behind schedule. When a delayed engine finally appeared through the fog, the waiting crowds were filled with a brief, desperate hope that their loved ones had survived. But as the trains pulled into the stations, they were met with total silence. No voices came from the windows. No one stepped onto the platform. The doors remained shut. The partition left over 1 million dead and millions more displaced. The stories of those inside the silent compartments were lost before they could ever be recorded. No single mastermind ordered these massacres. They were the organic, horrific result of an administrative failure, a chain of rushed decisions that removed the protections of society before a replacement could be built. The ghost trains serve as a physical record of the cost of a security vacuum. They prove that when systems of order are dismantled without care, the most vulnerable people pay the price for the lines drawn on a map.